Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. Today I am here with Jason Novotny at Hiland Construction located in Anchorage, Alaska. Jason is a general contractor doing both residential and commercial renovations, and we're excited to have you on Builder Stories. Jason, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Eric. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background, who you are, how you got into construction, what's Hiland do?
Sure. So Hiland Construction is a design build general contractor. We've been in business since 2019, and the majority of our work is residential. We do commercial work. We're a growing general contracting company. There's tremendous amount of work up here in Anchorage, Alaska, and we're excited to be a part of it, and grow the company, and yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So how'd you get into construction?
Let's see. Well, when I was a kid, my father's a real estate appraiser, so I kind of been around real estate in that aspect from, the early 80s and things like that. After my military, after I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years after high school, that I went to college, and then I knew I wanted to get into real estate, and I ended up working for an all-woman company in Newport Beach, California, and doing entitlement work. So I wanted to get into real estate development. So I would attend planning commission hearings, city council hearings. We attended, we presented big projects to, zoning review boards, design review boards, and all things like that. And so that was pretty exciting. So I got started in that way, and I spent about 12 years on the real estate development side, working from the land acquisition all the way through the building permit process. And then I moved over to construction and worked for a general contractor. And then I wanted to become a project manager, managing construction projects. So I've got experience from basically A to Z for the whole process, from land acquisition, all the design review process, working with the municipalities, the cities and counties, getting, going through all the entitlement process, and then all the way through construction. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man, and appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, what's it like building in Alaska? Is it, I don't know if you have any other kind of, experience in other areas, but like, what's like the permitting process? Are there any differences that you find kind of building up there, other than I assume it's really cold at many parts of the year?
Yeah, Alaska is definitely an interesting place as far as building, because obviously the cold climate. It's a lot different than the lower 48. I think there's some similarities in a lot of aspects where we have. So in Eagle River here at Anchorage, we have a lot of earthquake activity. So the designs of the buildings really account for. There's a lot of structural designs that account for that. Obviously the cold weather as well too. There's a lot of different ways to build homes up here in Alaska. Typical construction is, 2x6, R19 insulation, vapor barrier. There's different ways to build up here for sure, but obviously accounting for all the cold weather, and also structural for earthquake, for earthquake activity up here too. We had, there was the famous 1964 earthquake that brought a lot of buildings down in the Anchorage area. We had one when I moved up here in 2017, and I had just built my house, and we had a pretty good sized earthquake. I think it was like a 7.1, 7.2, which shook things, and there were some structures that came down. A lot of there was some roadways that gave out, a lot of holes in their roadways and things like that. So, but it's definitely different. In Alaska, so as a contractor here, And in order to build houses up here, you have to have a residential endorsement. You have to take a class from the Cold Climate Housing Research Center. The Cold Climate Housing Research Center up here really dives into building into Alaska and how to build in Alaska and different materials to put into Alaska to account for the cold weather. And it's really interesting. Like we're in the Anchorage area here. There's a lot of snow every year. We have the groundwater. There's high water tables everywhere, even in flat areas. You think we wouldn't have a high groundwater, and you put an excavator in the ground, and you dig 2 feet down, and you've got just nothing but water. So when we do foundation work and when we do what I build decks and things like that, well, specifically the decks, I like to use helical piers. Typically I won't pour concrete footers because of the heaving of the ground every year. There's a lot of water up here, which plays into it. Just it's something like that I'm not used to seeing from like building in Southern California. The envelope of the house is really important. Insulation is really important. The vapor barrier, creating the envelope of the house is really important. The sealing the vapor barrier is really important. We do a lot of insulation work. We do a lot of attic work in terms of exhaust fans and bringing in cold air to maintain a cold roof. Or we do hot roofs too. If we can't do a cold roof, we'll do a hot roof. Spray foam insulation. We've got a couple of jobs like that going on. But water is a big issue here in Alaska, big time. A lot of homes are built, they have basements, they're built on hillsides. Anchorage area is the bowl area is pretty flat, but the hillside, there's a lot of homes up on the hillsides. I live in Eagle River up Hiland Road, and a lot of the homes are built on hillsides, so you have a lot of drainage. There's underground rivers coming through, and a lot of people have foundation issues and things like that. So we do a lot of curtain drain work. We'll do, we'll excavate down to the footer, put perf pipe in, put drain rock in, so it drains around the house, dry everything out. So
sure.
So there's a lot of issues like that up here in Alaska that we deal with. So, and a lot of freezing, a lot of ice damming on the roofs, and that's generally related to airflow at the energy heel. It's really interesting. Alaska, Alaska is really like the last frontier, and from and it's the newest. Well, it's the 49th state, right? So a lot of homes were built here when the oil boom happened, when the pipeline went in, and these homes were just went up. I mean, there was no government oversight, no building inspections. So you get all kinds of structures from government housing. I did a remodel a couple years ago in Anchorage, and it was built by the government when the joint base right here in Anchorage was built, and they were just putting these structures up. And when we opened the walls up, there was no insulation in the walls.
Wow.
It was like, even no vapor barrier. There wasn't any insulation in the attic space, and these people and all these poor folks that lived in there was an older couple, and their heating bill was excessive, and so we remodeled it, put insulation for them, and made it right, and so we run across stuff like that all the time. So it's interesting.
Are you doing mainly on the residential side? Are you mainly kind of doing the remodels, renovations, or are you doing some new builds as well?
We're starting to get into new builds, a lot of remodel, a lot of renovation. We're doing a lot of. So when I first started out in 2019, I was doing a lot of renovation work. Just took on some small jobs. I quickly realized, the opportunity here. Coming from some pretty sophisticated companies out of Southern California and working on, multi-million-dollar projects, commercial projects as a project manager, it was really interesting coming to Alaska because there, a lot of that sort of volume just doesn't exist here. Some of the bigger, more established companies in town here are doing a lot of remote work. There's a lot of government work up here. and things like that. But there's a tremendous need for contractors, and there just isn't enough contractors to handle all the workload right now that we currently have here. But there's a big void in the residential market, which is good for us, good for me. We are just overloaded and overwhelmed right now with the amount of work, and part of my growth in what I've been doing since 2019 is every day is a learning experience for me, and I'm a student of construction and real estate development, and I'm always learning something new, and part of the growth for my company has been, JobTread has been a tremendous help for me, managing all this workload. It's been good. So there just isn't enough contractors up here to handle all this work, that we currently have. Like I said, we're overwhelmed and overloaded with work. It's a struggle to find good quality people. Yeah. But there's tremendous opportunity here for sure.
So what's your team look like?
So a lot of guys. So it's interesting, right? It's tough to find good help here.
Yeah.
Across the board. I think not only just in construction, but I think a lot of in other businesses as well. It's really tough to find help. Alaska's a big state. I think it's the biggest state in the union, and I think in Anchorage, I know we have about 300,000 people, maybe even a little less. I think on the statewide, the population's I think under 700,000. So, the pool of people is tough. It's really, really slim pickings up here, and it's a big state, but it's in a construction community. It's funny because I think we're all separated. Maybe there's like two degrees of separation among all of us, but I tend to, I like to lean on other contractors for help. I'm kind of a one-man show right now. I don't have any employees under my company, but I have a lot of subcontractors. A lot of guys up here want to be independent, working under as like either a consultant or like an independent contractor, which is fine. But they're also the guys in the field wearing the bags. They're the guys in the field doing the work.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But I've got a pretty good amount of resources among all divisions of construction for help to handle all the work that we do and that we take on. I like to challenge myself. We're taking on more complicated projects. Like I said, we're partnered with an architect out of Wasilla. We also have a structural engineer in town here a couple of structural engineers that I go to. But one primarily particularly that has been helping us out a lot, especially the residential side. Because there's a lot of structures here built in Alaska that just were done by either DIY homeowner type of stuff or bad contractors that don't follow the rules and regulations and things like that. So yeah, it's really, I guess I should say also, it's really interesting in Anchorage area. They have a building safety zone, and if you fall within that building safety zone, then a permit is required. But outside the building safety zone, which there's a tremendous amount of coverage of that, there's no building permits issued. It's just what they call as a land use permit. And in a land use permit, all you need is an as-built of the property, and you submit a residential application. And then if you're doing an addition, then it's basically planning and zoning, and that's it. There's no structural review. I have several projects like that, but we do follow the 2018 IRC IBC building codes. I have my mechanical, electrical, plumbing contractors all follow their current building codes, which that have been adopted by the municipality or the state of Alaska. So it's different dynamics versus like where I come from in Orange County, like everywhere from where I built everywhere from San Diego to LA and Ventura County. where, a building, you can't build a retaining wall without a building permit, right? Or even do some minor work. So it's really interesting in Alaska. And even to this day, I've been here since we moved up here in 2017. And even to this day, it's still it still takes me by surprise. And, I'm still getting used to the process, and, it's really interesting what people can get away with up here. So,
yeah. So what brought you to Alaska?
I always get that. So yeah, I'm a Southern California kid. I grew up in Orange County, Yorba Linda area in the '80s, and my wife and I met at Irvine California. As just we were ready for a change. We were living in Corona, and I was working for a general contractor out of Lake Forest, commuting from Corona to downtown Los Angeles. I was managing 2 contracts. It was $6 million contract down a 7th Street Metro station, and just the population of California, the politics, the air quality is terrible. Just the quality of life, the living, getting on the freeway, the traffic. It's an exhausting experience, and then you're like, you're living, you're living almost paycheck to paycheck because the cost of living is expensive. It's hard to get ahead there, and we felt like we were just in this fog we just needed to get out of. And I always knew that I was going to be a business owner. I really didn't like being an employee of somebody because, my wife says I'm not a normal person because I'm working 100 hours a week. I work 7 days a week. I not only just run Hiland Construction, but also Joe's House Foundation, which is a nonprofit we started last year. But we knew that there was some other opportunities out there, and we were ready to make the move. So when we vacationed in Alaska in 2015, went down to the Kenai Peninsula, stayed in Soldotna. Our last day, we come up to Eagle River. We knew about this just from watching all these TV shows about Alaska. And then we found Highland Road, went all the way up like 7-8 miles back into the valley, and found this property on West River Drive, undeveloped 4-acre piece of land. It was just beautiful. And I was like, this is it. Saw a for sale sign. That was it. That was the one. So
that's awesome.
It was a one-way ticket. I had a 40-foot high cube dropped off in the street in Corona. I packed my 3,000 square foot house in that 40-foot high cube, and I drove up here, sent my wife and kids on an airplane, and drove up to Alaska.
Nice. I mean, most people are coming to Texas, where we're located, but it sounds like you went north and found sounds like almost the exact opposite of everything you had in California. You've kind of gone to the other end of the spectrum. So definitely good for you for treading some new territory, new path. I mean, it sounds like you're a natural born entrepreneur through and through. Definitely know the feeling working. Feels like 24/7, but good on you to start up your own business. I mean, was there anything that surprised you that kind of going from working for a lot of others, kind of being project manager, sort of being an employee to now being the founder, the CEO, head honcho? What anything that surprised you?
Yeah, a lot of things. I think what's really is, I mean, it's been a growth experience personally and professionally. I think what surprised me, I guess it's hard to say what surprised me the most. It's been a real growth experience here and being in Alaska, from the construction side of things, just in all aspects. It's a tight-knit community, and there are a lot of challenges here, just from weather-related challenges, people-related challenges, adapting. I guess if I were to pinpoint something down, it's been the challenges of you guys being in Alaska period. All aspects from
sure.
From the communication is a challenge up here too. Alaska, is probably 20, 30 years behind the times of what's going on in the lower 48. There's a skill set that I brought here that I quickly realized that was not here. From a technological standpoint to a communication, even communication up here is really, really challenging. I struggle with that every day with a lot of my subcontractors and the guys who work for me. But I feel like, oftentimes I feel like I'm dragging people along, and I'm helping them, get up to speed and, the way I explain it too is, I come from a professional level up here, in Southern California, working with some great companies, great leaders, great organizations, and just, Alaska is sort of down here at this level. Just, I'm trying to pick things up. So I guess that's part of the reason why my company's been pretty successful, is that communication is super important. I think it's important in all aspects of business. And the way you treat your clients, I think the transparency that we have, when I meet with new clients, my part of my pitch to them is that I explain to them that, I'm almost like a fiduciary, sort of a contractor, but I'm also in business to make money as well. Hiland Construction, we look out for the client's best interest as well as ours too, right? So if they have a lot of questions, a lot of our clients don't know anything about construction, they don't know anything about real estate, they don't know anything about the municipality, or they don't know anything about land use permits or what the process is. So when I say we're like a fiduciary general contractor, we're very transparent in the process. We explain everything and all the steps and procedures. We break it down very simplistically with 3 phases of the process. Phase 1 being due diligence, and that is basically everything from the initial consultation up to the point where we pull a building permit. And phase 2 is construction. Phase 3 is basically the closeout process with commissioning, warranties, closing out the permits, and handing the keys over to the client and doing the final punch list and walk through and things like that, making sure they're happy. So that's been really good for us. From a management standpoint, managing the clients and managing the construction process. So everything is streamlined, everything is laid out, so there's no surprises. There's always going to be surprises in construction for existing conditions where you open up walls, I've been doing this enough now. We've done enough construction projects with houses where we kind of know what to expect in certain neighborhoods just based upon prior experience and, working on other homes in the neighborhoods. Or, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of due diligence that I do when I look into these houses and what, when was a house built, what year was it built. Oftentimes I already know what to expect.
Sure. Is it the same builder a lot of times?
What's that?
Same builder a lot of times?
Yeah, same builder in certain areas. There are a lot of homes, there are a lot of additions that were done without building permits, a lot of homeowner, you can get away with a lot up here in Alaska. Especially outside of the building safety zone, a lot of DIY stuff by homeowners and stuff like that. So we run into that a lot.
So it sounds like that experience that you got working for, other GCs was really a good, strong foundation for you to come in and kind of build this business in Alaska. And sounds like it's just a big open opportunity, lots of demand, not enough, supply there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. When I first moved to Alaska, I got a job with the Native Corporation. I've worked for 2 Native corporations here. So I did a dam demolition project here in Eagle River with a Klutna. That was an interesting experience. And I worked for another Native corporation, and I did a remote school build in a village in western Alaska, and it was a $36 million school built on pilings on the tundra. I mean, that's something you don't typically do in the lower 48. So it's really interesting. My career's been, I've had all these interesting projects, from 9-hole golf courses to underground passageways downtown Los Angeles. Just big structures in the arts district of LA, and to building schools on pilings outside Western Alaska, and dam demolition projects and everything in between. I guess commercial buildings and things like that. So that my experience has really, I think, made me a well-rounded general contractor. And I'm able to utilize that and apply that to what we're doing today.
Sure.
So
what would you say are the biggest differences from doing residential work versus commercial work? I see a lot of residential contractors sort of thinking about maybe trying to take on commercial, trying to get a little bit 1 foot into that. Like what do you think the biggest differences are, and do you recommend people do both, or kind of where do you prefer?
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure. We're Hiland Construction is a member of the Anchorage Home Builders Association, which we're also associated with the state and also the National Home Builders Association, and we're also a member of the Anchorage General Contractors Association as well, so AGC. And I see a separation. So a lot of general contractors are focused just on the commercial side, and which is great. And there's a lot of contractors focused on the residential side. I like the diversification. My goal with Hiland Construction is to have a residential division and a commercial division, and guys who are well-rounded people and very skilled in both aspects of it. Because I like diversification, because if there's if the economy tanks, if there's issues on the residential side, I'm able to allocate resources on the commercial side and vice versa. So I like to have opportunity on the table, and not really kind of pigeonhole myself into one area. But that's just me. That's a tremendous undertaking, and I think that's yet to be seen how successful I am with that. But I'm pretty ambitious. I look at this, life is short. I'm 48 years old, and I'm not getting any younger, and I love what I do, and I'm excited. And if I can help people out and be competitive in the market, whether it's commercial or residential, then I'm on board. I'm a yes guy, and I think I know I've overwhelmed myself this summer for sure, taking up projects. But I'm the type of person that I want to help people. I want to, there's a lot of contractors here that are doing some shady work. A lot of contractors that do cut corners. I get phone calls from a lot of people where, I feel bad for clients. They, some contractors will come in, take their money, they'll do the demo, and they'll just take off and leave. And they don't do the jobs right.
Yeah.
Or they don't pull proper permits or go through the necessary channels or get a structural engineer. They just kind of wing it. So, I see a lot of that going on, and that's not who we are. That's not what we are. And, my goal is to make, Hiland Construction, one of the premier contractors in the state of Alaska, both on residential and commercial side. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I think that's probably, that's why I work 100 hours a week. I'm working 7 days. I work Saturdays, Sundays. I work holidays, and, my wife hates me for it. But I think she sees the benefits. But like I said, I love what I do, and, I really appreciate our clients and what we do and what we provide for them. And that's, to me, that's worth more. That, to me, there's no amount of money, is much more worth it. There's no amount of money that is worth it than providing that kind of service.
Sure. And are you what's your sales process look like? Are you going out on site, building the relationship, kind of having to look at, whatever the situation may be, or are you doing, kind of phone consultation first? Kind of what's that full process look like for you?
Yeah, so we get a lot of referrals, and there's an initial consultation depending on the scope of work. If it involves my architect or an engineer, I always meet the client on site. Some of the projects are too small. We're just getting out of the smaller stuff and just focusing on the bigger projects. We're able to be selective like that. But initially, yes, we have a consultation on site with the client or with the owner. I work with a couple of investors where they're investing in real estate. I'll go look at the properties with the real estate agent and with the investor, and I'll give them my opinion based upon what I see an initial walkthrough, whether this is going to be a profitable project for them. So for, I guess, on the investor side, I always explain to my investors and my clients that I will never take on a project that doesn't put money back in their pocket. I'm not that kind of a contractor. When we come in and do something, I want to make sure that it's an investment. They're going to get a return on their investment. I will never go into a project that doesn't pencil out for the client either, or we will advise them what makes sense. We do bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, whole house remodels, additions. We have projects like that in our pipeline right now. But generally, it's initial consultation with the client. We go out, take photographs. Everything's documented, and obviously everything's documented, uploaded through JobTread. We've got a link directly on our website through Get an Estimate. It brings up the app through JobTread, and they're able to create a customer profile. That's sort of the initial process. There's a couple ways to go about that. I either get phone calls. We're out there online too. We're searchable through all the major search engines, through on Yelp and Google and everything else, and so there's a lot of ways to get a hold of us, but that initial consultation is sort of an evaluation stage, and that's where the transparency comes through. That's where they explain. It's a very long process, and the phase one part of what we do is what I consider the most important, because that's the due diligence part of it. That's the part where we iron out all the issues, and we basically pave a roadmap for a smooth process for construction and close out in phase 3.
Sure. So do you find it, easier or harder to work with, investors versus actual homeowners that are, living in the home, and, which do you prefer?
Investors are always easier to work with because they've done it before, or they have experience, or they have expectation. They know what to expect the process. Some are more educated than others, but the folks that are, have been living in a house for 20, 30 years, or they've just purchased a home, they're not really well versed in construction. They're not very knowledgeable about the process. And, and that's part of what we do in that initial consultation. We explain, okay, your house is built in 1960 something. This is what we're up against here. Everything that looks original, you've got, most likely a lot of it's out of code, from plumbing, electrical, mechanical, even structurally. There's some houses built out of 2x4s here with no insulation or no vapor barrier. They got ice damming. There's a whole, there's a whole dynamic of different issues that can arise and things like that in a house like that. So, I like to work with both those homeowners and also investors as well. There's a satisfactory level on both sides, and there's also a learning experience for me. I value every single client, and it's a learning experience. Every project is unique in its own ways, and we're always looking to improve what we do and how and what we deliver to the client. So
sure. Would you say, are there any types of projects or even types of customers where, you feel like it's just not a good fit going in, and you basically just bail out on it and don't want to take it on?
Yeah, there For sure. I've come across a couple of them. Yeah, that's definitely a skill set that takes time, I think, to develop is, reading people and, what you're going to get involved with. And because that could be challenging. Changes are always a problem. I think, there's, everybody has a different personality and the way they approach things. And, there are some clients where some clients think that I'm just, they're my only client. I have nothing better to do. I'm just sitting around waiting for them to call me or tell me either to do something for them to make a change. It doesn't work like that. So, that's part of my, that's part of what my responsibility is to see that, all right, and to explain the process. And that's part of the phase one process, and that's part of the initial consultation. Like, look, this is the process. So that's part of their education. So they have an expectation, and so that if there are changes or if there are challenges that arise, they know what to expect. So, but yes, there are some challenging clients. There are some particular projects that I won't take on where if the owner is in a country traveling and they have a renter living there. I had an experience with this where the renter, I don't know if they had a job or not. They were just looking over my shoulder every second, every minute, asking questions. They weren't even the owner, and they were delaying the project because I had to deal with that. And the owner was out of town and they were difficult to get a hold of. And so those are projects that I avoid.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about, really managing all of the subcontractors. Sounds like finding good work is one of your biggest challenges. So how do you, how do you find, your subs? How do you, train them, keep the good ones, maybe weed out the bad ones? Like how does that kind of that whole process work for you? Because it sounds like finding good quality work is not easy in Alaska.
Correct. Yeah, it is challenging. There are a lot of good contractors here in Alaska. And there are a lot of bad contractors here in Alaska. It is a challenge. It's for me, it's a day-to-day ongoing, just routine thing that I think I've become accustomed to. Relationships are the key to success here. Over the last, since 2019, since I started my business, and even before, it was 2017 when I was working I worked for two native corporations here, and I also worked for another gentleman here on base, doing a bunch of work on base. And, I've been able to grow and establish some pretty good relationships from that type up until now, and I continue to do that on a daily basis as well. And those contractors that are established, that are good, I have a really good relationship with them. It takes time. There's a level of trust that just takes time, to establish, right? Yep. And and everybody, people are concerned about cash flow and getting paid and things like that, which is really important. And that's one thing that I've done really well, I think, with anybody who's worked for me. I have always told them that they will never, I will, if there's an issue with a job, I will take the hit for it. I will not pass it on to a subcontractor unless they have a major screw up of some kind where they got to fix it themselves, right? So,
what's your payment schedule look like with them?
The payment schedule for my subs. So when we get, a lot of it depends upon the scope of the work, the contract itself. Working with homeowners, I try to keep my contracts very simple. It's in JobTread. It's been great in JobTread. I basically provide an estimate. Sometimes there's rough estimates going out. Larger projects that are, a few $100,000 and more, or in $1 million plus. Those are long form contracts. Typically, like on the commercial side, typically, in my experience working in Southern California, you have these big contracts, and there's pay applications every 30 days. The contract will stipulate when payment is due, and then when the payment to the contractor is also due. I know in the state of Alaska, it's 30 days, and then you can charge 1.5% interest up to 18% a year. And then you have up to 120 days to file a lien on a property if the payment's not received. But generally, when my subcontractors that work for me, they're paid within a few weeks.
Yeah.
And I make the payment. I pay my bills, and oftentimes I find myself waiting to get paid for Hiland Construction work. It's either 30 days or 60 days later when I finally get paid for the completion of the job. I've got a couple clients right now where, we're waiting for payment. It's been like 3 or 4 months on final payment, so, but all of my jobs are basically, all my subs are taken care of. All the suppliers are paid. We make sure everybody's paid. I think that speaks volumes. And that's, I think a lot of guys, that's what builds trust and builds relationships, moving forward. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many jobs are you running at one time?
Oh boy. Right now I lose track because I'm so busy. I'm going to have to go on JobTread to actually look how many jobs we got going on. I have, here's what we got going on now. I got 13 estimating. I got 6 pending contract approval. I've got 8 in the phase 1 due diligence, 6 in pre-construction, 3 in construction right now, 1 in final punch out. And since we've signed up with JobTread, we have 9 completed. So that's that's the workload. And I get inquiries every day, new leads every day coming up. Like I said, I'm pretty overwhelmed with work right now.
It sounds like it.
It's very overwhelming. And I'm at the stage, I'm at the point with Hiland Construction where I've got to make a decision. I think at the end of this year, I'm hoping just to make it through this year and get it to all my clients without upsetting some people. I've got to make a decision this year on what Hiland Construction sort of looks like going forward. We're currently investing in real estate, so not only I want to like to do residential remodels, things like that, but also commercial, but also becoming a real estate development company. I think that's going to be the bread and butter of Hiland Construction. Given my background and my experience working on the real estate development side in Southern California, building commercial shopping centers, and also being on the construction side of it, so we can handle everything from A to Z. It's just I need to surround myself, or I need to bring in people that can see the vision that we have and see the potential growth and the opportunity. And so yeah, it's a challenge, but we're gonna get there. We'll get there.
I mean, so sounds like again you're wearing all the hats like any good entrepreneur. Just keep putting them on, and you're doing the estimating, the project management, kind of managing the subs, the clients, everything.
Yeah.
Do you think is there an opportunity to try to hire someone to join your team, whether even maybe even if you can't find someone local? I mean, is there an opportunity, you think, to potentially try to relocate someone to relocate their family? Like, do you think people would be open to that? Maybe some sort of a relocation bonus. I don't know what the cost of living adjustment might be from coming.
Right.
If you're looking, what's that? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It's I do need help for sure. I need I definitely need a project manager to help manage all this. I basically 2 of me, or even 3 of me would be nice. That is definitely in the works for sure. I think part of part of what I want to do for this year is to open up Hiland Construction in a building. I'm looking to invest in a piece of land, build a building, have a couple commercial tenants. I'm able to hire staff and have a building for people to work out of for sure. And so that I can focus on growing the company, growing the real estate development aspects for Hiland Construction, and also running Joe's House Foundation as well. So that is in the works for sure. then takes a lot of planning, a lot of capital, that is a huge challenge. So, I tap into some resources. I've got some friends that also are general contractors. Some are a lot more successful than I am, and some bigger companies, even the companies that I worked for too. I have mentors that I can reach out to and things like that. But yeah, absolutely. It is a challenge. And I thought about bringing some folks up here. So for example, my IT social media manager is in Cebu, Philippines, and he works US hours. So he manages all of the IT related social media, our YouTube channel, our Facebook page for Hiland Construction, and also for Joe's House Foundation.
Nice.
And he wants to move to Alaska, but I'm going to be bringing him up here so he can experience going from with the climate in the Philippines and the climate in Alaska are like night and day. So so we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, absolutely. I'm open. I leave all options on the table for local and also out of state folks as well. But living in Alaska has a lot of challenges with the wintertime. You gotta really enjoy, the cold weather, the snow, the ice. It's really interesting. Being from Orange County and surfing in Huntington Beach and doing that thing. We never had to deal with snow and ice, and I knew what I was getting involved with in Alaska. So I bought a truck and I bought a plow so I could plow the roads. My driveway is 800 feet long, so I'm plowing a lot of snow. I even plow to even get out of where I'm at now to the main road to get down the mountain here. So, you really got to be prepared for that kind of environment. And even in the wintertime too, we have less daylight. We've got, 18 hours of darkness or whatever. In Anchorage, we have at least 6 hours of daylight. The sun's like 2 degrees on the horizon, and we do have daylight. But in the summertime, like June 21st is summer solstice, it's daylight 24/7. The sun doesn't set here. So,
crazy.
2, 3, 4 in the morning, it's, from midnight to 6 a.m., it's still daylight.
Yeah.
You don't need, so there's those challenges too.
Obviously, it sounds like finding someone local would be ideal because they're already there, already adjusted. But
right.
I'm also a big proponent of just even putting those feelers out there, on your website, having a careers page, getting some job posts on on Indeed, LinkedIn, things like that. I mean, even I think you could have a unique post, interested in relocating to Alaska, looking for project manager or something like that.
Right.
And maybe even just targeting, the kind of the mountain areas, certain climates, within the U.S. that might make more sense. I mean, obviously, I think going from, Southern California to Alaska is quite the other end of the spectrum, but maybe you can find something a little bit similar to people already kind of used to the cold, used to, shoveling snow and dealing with all of that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, sounds like, if you keep growing and having the success you are, you're certainly gonna need someone to come on and help you, build out that team a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, sounds like you got a lot of irons in the fire. You got a lot of things going. I mean, what do you find from day to day your biggest challenges are?
Well, the biggest challenge day to day, there's a lot of challenges, obviously, just, running this organization, wearing a lot of hats for sure. I think, and I recognize me personally, I have my own personal challenges, and I think what's really gonna make me become even more successful and bigger, and be a $5 million contractor, a $10 million contractor, or 20 or more, even bigger than that, is delegation. I definitely need to bring on some good quality people that see the vision, delegate to those folks who can help build this organization, and that's the biggest challenge for me, I think, right now, and finding the right talent who see the vision and share the vision. There's a lot of sacrifice in becoming successful, and I watch a lot of clips from like either Facebook or Instagram from a lot of these successful entrepreneurs out there, and what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing that they all have in common is that they've either been bankrupt, they've been broke, they've been on the street, they've all had massive struggles, and they have experienced they've experienced some big challenges in life, I think mostly mentally, some
Sure.
physically as well too. And I think until you've been broken down and you reached a breaking point in your life, a lot of people will just get up and do the 9 to 5 grind every day, and they don't challenge themselves. And I think a lot of these entrepreneurs who are super successful have experienced that, that mental breakdown or to the breaking point. It's interesting, for me, after high school, I joined the Marine Corps. I grew up like playing sports. I played ice hockey, I played soccer, played football, captain of the football team. I really wasn't, I was prepared myself mentally for the Marine Corps, but that was a pretty challenging experience. I think they really break you down into like nothing, and they rebuild you up. And I saw a lot of people, and I always refer back to that for me, because that was a big learning experience for me. And I use that experience today to stay humble. I try to stay humble, and challenge myself, to what my capabilities are, and even beyond that as well too. And I think that's a common factor among a lot of these successful people out there.
Sure. How do you, when you think about success, I mean, how do you define success, both kind of at kind of the highest level, but then when even looking at, specific projects and kind of trying to understand, like, were we successful in this project or not? Like, kind of how do you sort of look at it all?
Yeah. I look at success, I think, a couple of different ways. Obviously, like we have, when I see the reaction from clients, I get a lot of positive feedback. They're very happy with what we've done. They're, some of the, when I see a smile on my clients' faces when the project's done, when they walk in the house, or when they, they're very grateful what was done. That to me has more value than any amount of money, because that's what, for me, that's why I'm really in this business. And to see the gratification, to see I'm able to put my skills to use and to change lives and change people's lives, for the better, better living conditions, making their dreams come true, and things like that. So that's how I look at success. And then, the money will come in after that. That comes in after. I love what I do, and for me, it's about it's not only personal and professional growth, but it's also helping people in the community improve their lives. And for me, it's if I can give them a kitchen remodel and see the smiles on their faces and they can enjoy something for the rest of their lives, then that's awesome, right?
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more, man. I feel like it's so much of, being an entrepreneur is your mindset, when you can learn to just, love and appreciate, the opportunity to get up and do good work every single day. When you love what you do, like it helps you that much more to be, passionate, excited. And then, look, I mean, it's like being on a roller coaster at times. You got your ups and your downs, but, again, having that mindset just helps you, in those hard times to just keep going, to persevere, never give up, and I think that, like, once entrepreneurs figure that out, it just makes everything so much easier and so much more fun and enjoyable. And, like if you find like you're not enjoying your life, if you're not, doing what you love to do, then like you got to make a change. Don't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. You got to make sure that, for you, this is the right lifestyle that you want to live. And, it sounds like you've really embraced that. You figured out, what makes you happy, and you're focusing on that, and, creating multiple organizations here to build that. I guess kind of one final question I want to ask you, when when you think back about, kind of starting your career, starting your business, do you have any advice that you would give others who, maybe, still early on in their career, maybe they still got one foot in the tools, one foot in the business, trying to figure out kind of how to find their fit, how to get going? Like, what advice would you have for them that, that maybe you wish you would have known when you started out, or something that might help them, to get going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. This took me a long time to figure out, because I think this is ingrained in us from when we're a kid. When you're a kid, you grow up and you go to school, and you're sitting in front of a classroom and you're trying to become an A student, or if you want to do that, and you struggle and you struggle and you struggle. What I think, and you're sort of ingrained to be, a lot of people are, a lot of people have tunnel vision into, either, you get out of school, or you get out of school, you go to college, or you get a job, and you get a 9-to-5 job, you get a house, you have, your expenses, and you're just kind of in this like twilight zone that the majority of the population is. And my advice to anybody would be, don't be afraid of failure. Fail more often, because failure is a teaching tool, and you start to realize your own capabilities and your own growth potential. I mean, from all aspects, right? And I think, and don't be afraid to challenge yourself too, and just don't be afraid of failure, because that's a huge, I think that's a huge tool that a lot of people are afraid. Everybody wants to take the safe road, like, I don't know, I'll get this job, I'll apply for a job, hopefully I get it, and I'll just be quiet. And then, when I interview people and talk to people, I've been in positions where I've been with companies where they don't want leaders, they want followers. I want leaders. I want people who are willing to take a challenge, willing to challenge themselves. I want people who are not afraid to fail at things, because that's a learning tool. That's a learning experience. So to me, I think that is going to be that is what's going to grow people personally and professionally. And I tell people too, part of what Hiland Construction and my vision for Hiland Construction is that I don't want people to come to work thinking it's a job. I want them to come to work thinking that they're part of something bigger than what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. Because there is a lot of potential for rewards and growth, not only personally but professionally. Not only do I want to provide a decent paycheck for these people, but they're also getting a day-to-day learning experience, which has tremendous value. But then also what I want to do is offer them quarterly bonuses, and they also have the opportunity to be involved with the investments that Hiland Construction makes. So say, for instance, we go out and buy a piece of property, we build a house or build a building on it. Those folks who are those employees who are part of that process are also going to be given some sort of ownership in that investment that will stay with them forever, as long as we own the asset. And I learned that through a company I used to work for in Santa Ana, California, from a very successful entrepreneur, and who had the same program, and that's the sort of program that I would like to follow as well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a great opportunity for anyone out there, open to relocating to Alaska. Sounds like you ought to hit up Jason. Could be an awesome opportunity, get some equity and some real estate out there, but be able to again put your blood, sweat, and tears into something that you can create value beyond just yourself there. I think you're spot on too, though. I mean, you can't be afraid to fail. And when you look at things as a challenge and as an opportunity, it just, again, helps you with your mindset, helps you kind of frame it right. And look, I tell people on my team all the time, I mean, I would rather them, try something and fail than to not try at all.
Right.
Because just like you said, Jason, it's an opportunity to learn, to grow, to improve. And, next time, you get a chance at that same thing or something similar, hopefully you can make it and you can get it done right. And, it's all about how you look at, life and how you look at the opportunities that come about. That, I think it's what makes a difference from being, in just an employee and being a leader and an entrepreneur. And, I think at all stages, at all levels in any company, you can have a team of entrepreneurs and leaders and people who, are excited to get out there and go do what they know that they need to do. People don't have to, be told that, you need to clock in, clock out, and here's every single thing that you need to do. Now, obviously there are people that's kind of what they want, and they're great leaders or, great followers, great soldiers. And you can definitely benefit from that too. But, I think, at the end of the day, just thinking about how you can build a great business, it's all about your mindset. It sounds like you've really done a great job, Jason, kind of embracing this change. Everything that you grew up knowing, you sort of threw out and said, all right, I'm going to go start from scratch and just rely on your experience. And, it's been really awesome to learn about, what you're building there and how you're overcoming those challenges. I'd say you got a sort of a whole nother, bag of challenges being in Alaska, but, it sounds like you're taking it taking it in stride and doing a great job. And, hopefully maybe this podcast will recruit, a couple more trades up there to Alaska to help you out. Sounds like there's a big opportunity, but, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience, sharing your story. We're excited to watch you continue to build out, the residential, the commercial, the development side. It sounds like you've got a lot of things going for you, and hopefully you can get some reinforcements on your team eventually, so you don't have to keep burning all the midnight oil. But
right,
at the end of the day, I realize there's really no stopping an entrepreneur who just you're just kind of wound up and want to go, and this is what we do.
Right.
So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's been great, and like I said, I love what I do, and part of one thing I would like to mention too is that Hiland Construction. I mean, not only we've been successful with Hiland Construction, but I started a nonprofit foundation called Joe's House Foundation, where we are investing in, we're purchasing single-family homes and opening up to veterans and other folks who want to live in a recovery house under sober living conditions.
Sure.
And Joe's House Foundation was started after my brother Joe passed away last year. He was 33 years old. He left behind a wife and 4 daughters. And he was a combat veteran, fully disabled, 100% disabled, and he struggled with basically drugs, and ultimately it took his life. So there's a struggle up here in Alaska that I didn't realize the extent of what's going on here, but there's a lot of folks up here that need a lot of help, and we have just purchased our first house in Anchorage. We partner with Lowe's, Home Depot, and Spinner Builders Supply, who are providing materials for the renovations for the house.
Wow.
And we've also partnered with 2 other nonprofits in town. One is going to help us operate the house, and so we're able to contribute to the community and help reduce the homeless population and give veterans and other folks an opportunity to become functioning members of society and just have a future, have a better future from what they've had before.
Yeah.
So that's a huge deal what's going on now, and it's going to be a big deal for going forward in the future. And I know Hiland Construction's involvement with Joe's House Foundation. So
sorry to hear about Joe, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family.
I appreciate that.
It sounds like a really neat organization though that you're creating. Is there a place that maybe people can learn more about it, even from afar, some way to get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can go online. We're at www.joeshousefoundation.org. We also have a Facebook page, Joe's House Foundation, as well. We're taking donations. You can donate right through the website as well. And my contact information is on there too. If anybody has any questions or anything, I'm reachable. So
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, we will certainly share the link out with this post, and appreciate you sharing more about that. When I first heard, I just thought about foundation. That was maybe a foundation company, but now I see it's a foundation organization. That's awesome that you created that, and definitely need more organizations like that to help us, kind of build out, things that we can do for veterans. And man, I feel really bad hearing about Joe and his and the family left behind. Man, that's tough. So
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you for sharing that. We will definitely get that link shared. And again, just thanks for everything that you're doing up there in Anchorage. To keep trying to take the business to a whole nother level. All of the I know you must be doing a lot of coaching, mentoring to the various subs and trade partners that you're working with, and keep up the good work there, and hopefully you can have all these organizations that you're working on have a lot of success over the next coming years, and however we can help, we're excited to be a partner here for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I have nothing but positive things to say about JobTread. It's been a learning experience for me, and I've utilized, I think, every aspect of it, and I'm still learning new things every day, and how to utilize JobTread and take advantage of what JobTread has to offer. And for me, by far, it's been awesome, and I've had a lot of success up here with JobTread, and I've had a lot of positive feedback from definitely suppliers for sure. And I've been educating people. I'm actually going to be, I think I'm going to be holding a meeting here. I'm going to be inviting a lot of people to a meeting, introducing them to JobTread, and so they understand what we're going to be using moving forward to help grow my organization. So it's fantastic. It's awesome. It's been a blessing, because the systems that I was using before are just it's archaic, it's very cumbersome, very time consuming, and this sort of consolidates all of those issues into one location, and it's cloud based, and the affordability is awesome, and it's been a very tremendous asset for us moving forward, and we're actually using this for the house that we're doing for Joe's House Foundation as well, to manage that project. So
that's great to hear. Love hearing that feedback, and appreciate you taking the time to help others become more aware of it as well in Alaska. That's awesome.
Cool.
All right. Well, very good. Appreciate your time, Jason. And we'll keep touch and see how things progress for you. Hopefully, maybe we can get you down here at JobTread Connect in January. Probably won't be too much of a break from the cold, but you get a little bit of
yeah. I will be there in January. I've already bought tickets, and we're set up for that. So I'll see you then. Yeah.
All right. Very good. See you, Jason.
Okay. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.